welcome to Common Solution. I'm your host, Jasper Onhuis, and today I want to talk about perception and reality. So there's some philosophical streams that say that our perception is reality. You can see this in New Age as well, where people just like assume that what you see is what you get. Like it's our perception creates reality, but reality is actually that is something that is independent and existing, regardless if we see it or not. And so the big work, the great work, the magnum opus, that is what it's referred to in alchemy, is aligning our perception to reality. And so Mark Passio did a great job on explaining the metaphysics of seeing reality. Well, I guess it's more ontologically, because what is reality? Reality is definitely influenced by our perception. I think quantum mechanics has shown this with the double slit experiment, where a particle, once it got observed, the behavior act differently. This is very controversial to make this interpretation, but I would refer to the work of David Bohm and also Mark Prydram, and how they work together, creating a new outlook, um, combining philosophy and quantum mechanics together. And there's many things, that many different pieces, puzzle pieces you have to fit together before it um, becomes shown that we are affecting our reality by our perceptions. And so this is something that I'm dwelling upon myself, because I'm seeing a lot of problems arising around me, but I'm recognizing that the problems are not the problems themselves, but is actually how I'm perceiving the problems and how I'm dealing with them. Because ultimately, the problem isn't here, or maybe a better word is an obstacle. Like the obstacle is the way, and we see certain obstacles in our life coming and passing, and how we deal with these obstacles, that is reliant on how we're perceiving it. Like, what options do we see? um, are we letting other people engage with our problems? Maybe they have certain perspectives that are valuable for us to hear, or maybe we just have to meditate and go within, and by that we will get into a realization what will be the best way to move forward. um, I would love to hear what you guys think on perception and reality. But I do think that, like a phenomenology and existentialism, perception, they say, is reality, is as it presented, like the most imminent, the most like the most like what is more most tangible, most visible. That is what reality is and what it lays out for us, and we just have to accept this. But we know from many different angles that reality is much more than we perceive, and so our perception is pretty limited. Um, and it's our job, not just to align our perception to reality, but also to expand. Because what reality is, it's not like what they make this philosophy out of, like realism, like we just have to be a slave to reality and just surrender to what is actually present, which is true, but only a half truth, because we also have to expand and co-create and make things that are now not part of reality, make it part of reality, and expanding the possibility, the realm of possibility, because there's so many things that are possible in reality, but we can only see what has already been done by the people that we encountered or that we got exposed to. But there's many people that we didn't expose to, and some of them, they expanded a lot on what is actually possible. They're not recognized, or not well known, and often for conscious reasons, because if only everyone knew what the power they had inside of themselves, our reality would definitely change a lot. But first, our job is to know what reality is. So this is an ontological question: what is reality? And so reality is like a surface level of what lies underneath, which is the metaphysics. and the metaphysics is deeply intertwined with our perception. But we have a conscious perception, which is our conscious mind, things that we are like the things that I'm seeing right now. But there's multiple forms of perception, because like if I had a way of seeing the subtleties of reality, then I could see this more metaphysical level of our reality. And some people do; they're clairvoyant or psychical, and they can see these things. But because we filter, and that's a key word, we filter our perception based upon our preferences. Like we prefer that it has to do something with our survival, for example, or with pleasure. So that limits our perception and things that we got into our mind. And so, to like, if you take psychedelics, for example, our survival is less relevant because we feel comfortable, we feel expansive, we're more engaged in what lies beyond reality. We're getting into the metaphysics. By this, we have to surrender our ego, our our sense of survival, and all these basic instincts that we have to protect ourselves. Because we're protecting ourselves against the truth. Because we always have, there's so many people that say, "Oh, I want to hear what's the truth," But once they hear, and it goes for me as well. Like once I hear the truth, I'm actually finding out I didn't want to hear that. Like that is just too confronting, or that just stepped outside of my whole paradigm of how I saw things before. And this is something that I'm trying to integrate, expand upon myself. And there's many things that I acknowledge that is outside of my perception right now, but it's actually part of reality. So a basic example, like with the psychedelics, is often like regarded because yeah, you're under influence of a certain substance, but this substance, if you look at it differently, opens you up to different realms of possibilities of what is also part of reality, but more on a subjective level. And so in psychology, they often refer to this as hallucinations. But that is only because people cannot uh, solidify what you've seen. Like if I see something, I see a fairy or something like an alien or a UFO, and nobody else saw it, then who will believe me? Like maybe your best friends will, maybe people that really really trust you, and even they would might have their doubts on what you're saying. Like, did you really see that? Like, it's depending on if that fits into their worldview. So most of the times you get just discarded, called crazy, or you're schizophrenic, or get certain psychological issues, because we don't have the language, we don't feel comfortable talking about these things because they're making us questions fundamental assumptions that we have about reality. And it's so obvious how things are presented, so we take it as it is. But I think like senses um, can be very distorting. I think Einstein said it as well. Like our reality is like a dream, but it's like a constant one. Like it's the most consistent dream that we have. Like we all share this dream. We all see things pretty similarly. At least we assume that we do. And so I would ask you, do you see that bat over there? Yeah, you do see it as well. Okay, that means that bat is part of reality. But do you see that flying thing over there? That's hovering there, maybe an energy orb. Oh, you don't see that? Oh, well, it must be a hallucination then. But is it an hallucination, or maybe there's somebody out there that did see that orb? Like I'm just naming an example because I don't see an orb right now, but perhaps I did. What if I did? Like we don't know. Like I think we have to be trained in order to see uh, beyond reality. We have to be adaptable with people that are capable of doing that. Because we have to train our minds to be ready for that. Like we can think, oh yeah, I've read 10 books about it. I'm ready now. But then once we see it for real, like I have some of these experiences where I talked about this in the podcast as well, or sort of certain entities. Anything you're prepared for seeing things like that, but truth be shown, like it's not really. It's beyond what we can prepare for. I would say like maybe if you have that cultural embeddedness of like a way to articulate that experience, to have people that have similar experiences, like it's much easier to integrate that. But here in a Western society, it is very difficult to integrate that because people will not talk about it because it doesn't fit into their paradigm, the conscious way of looking at the world. And so we really have to reevaluate a lot of things that we assume about reality, really, because like even if I'm talking here, like I see these things around me, but I'm not assuming that that's the only things that are here. Like I don't know if there's ghosts here or anything, but like I do know that we only see a small portion of the light spectrum. I don't know that I can only hear a certain tones. I cannot hear many frequencies that dogs can, and so I know that frequencies are crucial in understanding reality. And we have these brain functions also with these brain waves that you have the alpha, the omega, the delta. Uh, I think that was in the alpha, beta, delta, and omega brain waves. And so our brain state is also like deepening once we get into a meditative state, which I think is like if you want to open yourself up to more of a wider perspective, you have to try to stop this chattering inside of your mind that's constantly trying to distract you with all these thoughts about things that don't really matter. And that sets up the filtration as well because it's not relevant to your own normal day of thoughts, like what I have to do for work tomorrow, I need to study for this and this exam. And so our mind fills up with all these things, and some are useful for sure. But because we're thinking on that, then other things are faded away, and that's discarding away like a huge amount of reality. And because like it's like I'm calling it reality, but it's perceived reality because reality is just what we can perceive, right? Well, what lies beyond reality? Yeah, that's what I said earlier with metaphysics. But are we? When are we, like what would things we be required uh, to be able to see these things? Like I think you need to be trained. You need to be with people that stimulate you to see life differently and also see it more into its depth. Um, and it's very like I think it's much easier to have these experiences of widening your perspective on life by being surrounded. Like when I was in Peru, for example, people there overall believe more in spirits and elemental spirits and like entities and also UFOs. So for them, they didn't. It's not that shocking. So when you have that experiences, you can share it with people, and it just gets more and more part of normal day reality. But here in the West, we normally discard it. So it's very rare that you have that experience. I had it a few times, also with people that also believed in that, because I do believe that your beliefs are important to widen your perspective. If I don't believe ghosts exist, chances are very slight that I actually will see one, because that is my our beliefs. Like this is the placebo effect. This is quantum mechanics. This is marketing. This is politics. Like your awareness, your perception determines what you will perceive, what will be coming to you. And what is some things that you encountered that people didn't understand or don't see as part of reality, but you experienced it? Like I can name many experiences that I had personally that showed me that there's more to life than what I just physically perceive on a day-to-day basis. Um, this magical aspect to life I hope to bring into society and bring into my daily life, but it comes with a responsibility. Cannot be just jumping around. Oh, there's a fairy there. Oh, there's a dragon in the sky. Like people will just call you crazy. So you have to go at it gradually. And first, people need to accept that those things exist, but not just based upon my words or anyone's words. It's an experience, and only life can give you that. But at least be open to the possibility that there is more to life than what you're presented. This is even like Wim Hof even said, it's like, I believe that what life is more than my eyes perceive, what my senses give to me. And because of this, I'm capable of sitting in ice for a longer time with his breathing techniques and do amazing things. We all have certain superpowers, because, but first, we have to release ourselves of these blockages against our superpowers because we're really afraid of how powerful we are and how much is out there, really. Like, it's gonna be frightening for sure. Like, I have a lot of, like, if I have nightmares, it's about aliens and extraterrestrials and UFOs, because for me, that if I would see that for real, that would be shocking to me because that would confirm a lot of things that I've been researching and my thoughts upon life, how grandiose it is, and how many things are really out there in the universe that we are not aware of. And also, not just the universe, I think it's multidimensional as well. So, hopefully, one day I will see that for real. Because otherwise, like, I'm not gonna convince anyone that those things are real. There are some people, even one of my friends, Cheered, has one of these experiences. He once told me of meeting extraterrestrials. So, and I trust that guy with my life. So, if he says so, that's for me already a reason for at least being open to that possibility. Because a lot of people are still like very close-minded. They have a limited amount of experiences because they're trying to just keep everything in this square. You know, I have to focus on my job. I'm very fixated. Here in the West, we're very fixated, and that has to do with like we build cities and we stayed for a longer amount of time in a certain place. So our way of thinking is also this, that we have relationship, we have careers, which are all like pretty fixated. I'm not saying you shouldn't have those things, but at least like be aware that life needs also adaptability, something that I've talked about earlier as well. And once our mind is not adaptable, we will not be ready for having those experiences because we're so fixated on this is where I want to go to, or fuck everything else, you know. And that is, I think, like, first you have to be aware that you are in service to life, in service to the truth, in service to each other. I'm just gonna make it all inclusive because we're all here to serve everything. And the more deeper this awareness grows, perhaps some things will be shown to you that I cannot tell you here. And this is all about the mystical path. Life is a mystery. That's one thing. That is, I deeply, deeply believe into. So life is a mystery. Because if I deny that, then a lot of things will be closed and we will be in a fearful state. Because I was around to be embracive. Like, oh, life has so many things to tell me that I didn't know before, show me that I didn't know before. So let myself be open to all possibilities, and you will surprise yourself, or you will be surprised by something else. But ultimately, I do think that it's all you, it's all me, it's the universe. So it's all united, and all these entities, they're all part of yourself. And so, in a certain way, you're giving yourself a certain expression, not by a creative art form, but actually by perceiving things creatively. Because here in the West, we're so fixated, we're so logical in our thinking, and everything has to be reduced to reason. You have to reason about it. You know, I'm a philosophy teacher. I have to tell people about premises false, premises is true, and the conclusion is that does that support the first two premises, the minor and the major, those things that we need for science or for our careers. But these are all like pretty limiting. They can, sure, they can be helpful for certain things, but life is a paradox. It is contradictive. Like we can know, but we can't know. Like it's both at the same time. It's not either or, but it's both and it's inclusive. It's integrative. So I hope that this is helpful to you. That you are opening yourselves up to other people, to other possibilities. Surprise yourself. Surprise life. Life can be. It can be thrown things at you. It can be negative. It can be positive. But it's ultimately how you perceive these things that will make the difference. Because we make it positive. We make it negative. But in truth, it is what it is, and that's what reality is. So, yeah, I hope that is do any service to anyone that need that, because that's for me the most important thing. That it hits at somebody, that reaches somebody that needs that, to hear that message that life has a lot of possibilities. And I myself is actually, to be honest and to be vulnerable, I'm a person that needs that, to hear that. And this is some form of self therapy. It's like, man, dude, I know it's difficult right now, but anything is possible. So, eternal love, let me know what you think on the possibilities of life, how we can align our perception with reality, and expanding the possibilities that reality entails. Um, because I do believe that reality is always expanding. It's not some fixed, static place. It's something that is constantly transforming, and we have a choice. We can either resist this, or we can transform with it. And if we transform with reality, and then if you attack me, you attack reality. If you love me, you love reality. If you are in service, reality will be in service with you. I hope that this will be to use to somebody. Let me know what you guys think on that, and hope to see you on the next episode. All right, peace. Be sure to like and subscribe, and hope you have a great day. All right.